Hi, this is Miss Goodale, and today I'm going to be talking about graphing inequalities. So when I'm graphing inequalities, then that would mean I'm taking a problem such as x is greater than -3, and I'm going to graph it on a number line. So first I have to start out with the number line, and this should be enough to get me started. Now, a couple of things that I want you to know in order to do this type of problem is I'm going to use a circle with that's either filled in or not filled in. And if it's filled in, that means that it can be equal to the value plotted. So it could be less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or equal to. A circle that's not filled in means that it is not equal to the value plotted, but uses that point as a reference. So that would be greater than or less than signs. So looking at this, we're going to start at -3, and I draw my circle, and then this is not equal to the x. It doesn't have the line under it. It's just x is greater than it. So I'm not going to fill that one in. Now, in order to figure this out, if my variable is on the left here, then there's kind of a trick. You can just look at this way that this goes. So x is greater than -3. That means it's bigger. That means x is going to be to the right. And so my arrow would go to the right. Now, if my variable is on the left side of the equation, then this symbol, the arrow is going to be pointing the same direction as that symbol looks. If it's the other way around, it's going to mix you up. So know that that's kind of an easy way to know if your excuse me, variable is over here, but if it's on the other side, that doesn't hold true. So here's another example. I'm just going to go through several just so that you can get the hang of this. And so I have 1, -1, -2, 2. Let's start with just this. We don't really need a ton of values for me to show you how this works. So this time we're starting with our reference point at 2. We're going to draw a circle, and there's no line under it, so it's not going to be filled in. And y is less, so y is going to be to the left of -2. Okay. Let's do this one. This one is going to have the actual symbol underneath it. So a is greater than or equal to 0. So let's start out with my number line. Okay, so I have this reference point at 0. It says or equal to, so I fill that one in actually. And then if it's greater, it's going to be to the right. So if it's greater, it's to the right. If it's less, it's to the left. So if you think about left, less, that can help you remember. Z is less than or equal to -1. Zero, -1, 1, 2. Okay, so we just have a -1 here. I draw my circle. Again, It's got a line underneath it, so I know it's going to be filled in. And this is less, so the arrow is going to be pointing to the left. And then x equals 2. This one's a little different. Don't get caught up in doing so many of these where you have a line drawn that you get caught up on something like this. X is equal to 2 just means that it's 2, right? If it's equal, then you fill in the circle. You don't have to draw an arrow, okay? And let's do one more on here and then maybe do some where you have to do a little bit of figuring before we draw the line. Okay, so x let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so on. Okay, so we have 8 is greater than y. So this time, if you notice, my 8 is on the left and my y is on the right. So don't let that confuse you at all. 8 is going to be where my circle is. There's no line drawn under it, so I don't need to fill it in. And it is greater than, that means y is going to be smaller, right, if 8 is greater. So then that's going to go to the left because y could be 7 and then 8 would still be greater. Y could be 6 and it would still be greater. So if your y is on the left, it would have made that look a little different. Okay, let's do one where you have to solve. X plus 7 is greater than 16. Now this one you're going to have to solve like you would in a regular equation. So y plus 7, and to get rid of the 7 you have to subtract. So you do that to both sides. Y ends up by itself because plus 7 minus 7 is 0, so it's just y. 16 minus 7 is 9. So now we have y is greater than or equal to 9. So I'm going to draw my right side here a little bit more. And my circle is going to be at 9. It's got a line under it, so that means it could be equal to, which means I would fill it in. And then my y is greater, that means I'm going to go to the left because my y could be 10, it could be 11, and so on. Next, let's do 3 is greater than or equal to h minus 2. So this time, I also have to solve. If I want to get rid of that minus 2, I have to add it. So I do 3 plus 2 is greater than h minus 2 plus 2. And then that means 3 plus 2 is 5 on this side. And h ends up by itself on the other side. So then I have 5 is greater than or equal to h. So let me draw my numbers here. I put my circle at 5. It could be equal to, so I fill it in. And since it's bigger, all my numbers that are h are smaller. Okay, now normally I would fill all this in, but for time's sake, I did not fill in right in all of these other numbers. I hope that gives you an idea of how to graph equalities or inequalities. Let me know if you have any questions, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.